and obviously a sad day in the world of sports. Kobe Bryant, as you all well know by now, passed away with his daughter, and honestly, many others in a tragic helicopter accident in Calabasas, California. And look, we've got LSU news. We've got the Bo Pelini just got confirmed. Ross Dellinger put it out there on Twitter. We'll get to Bo Pelini being named defensive coordinator at LSU, but obviously that's the only way to start this show is to remember Kobe and those that were lost in the tragic accident. And Ronnie, this is just, one of those deals where it's going to hit everybody, and it hit everybody hard yesterday. Kobe Bryant, an absolute legend on the court, off the court, what he was doing for women's sports off the court, what he'd really done since he retired. This is going to be a very, very difficult one to take.
One of those moments where I think you kind of will remember how you felt or where you were. To me, it was similar to Magic Johnson when I was in college in the early 90s when he came out with HIV and had that press conference. That was like a stop the presses moment, and you figured it out where you were. And this is another one of those. Like, even though I wasn't a big Kobe fan, he wasn't on my team. He didn't play. I didn't pull for him throughout his career. It still was shocking, and it was a wow moment. And actually, the Port City's own Josh Booty was who told me first. I'd gotten a text from him with a link to the story, and I said, "Is this real?" And that's how I found out about it.
Yeah, I was in the movie theater, and Katie and I took the boys to go see a movie, and it was one of those, pop-up notifications on your phone, and, it wasn't confirmed at the time because TMZ was the only outlet that had it, and TMZ, it is what it is, and you're like, okay, hopefully this isn't true. Hopefully this is not, factual information. Then when you find out it is, and then all the reports of who was on the helicopter with him, and obviously they missed there saying all 4 of his daughters at one time, and then it turns out he did have one of his daughters on the helicopter with him. I mean, it's just a tragic story, and this is something. Look, Kobe Bryant took a helicopter almost every day to the Lakers facility. He said many times, I decided to travel that way because there was one time I believe he missed a school play with his daughter there, and he's like, I was stuck in traffic. That's never going to happen to me again. So this was old hat for Kobe to get on a helicopter, and obviously the fog was an issue as it comes out today, and a lot of helicopters actually decided to not go out that day because of the fog being an issue, and just completely tragic. I mean, you're talking about a guy that, for a generation, he's the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's Michael for a younger generation, then it's Kobe, and then obviously you got LeBron now, but like Kobe was that guy. I mean, we've all shot a piece of paper in a trash can and said Kobe when we shot it, and to a full generation, that is him. And he did it in a different way. Like Kobe was never like hey, look at me. He was never a flashy guy as far as what he wore off the court or did this and that and the other. No, he was about a grind mentality. I mean, the Mamba mentality, that's his. I mean, he had a nickname because of his mentality. And I heard Charles and Jimmy talk about it earlier. Like sometimes being LSU people were like, Shaq, Shaq, Shaq. Like throw the ball to Shaq, get the ball to Shaq. And, and Kobe was obviously, and him and Shaq went through some stuff, but even then you still appreciated everything that he did for basketball and the way he approached it, because not many times people with his skill set have that work ethic to be able to go out there and be that kind of guy off the court as well. You look at your Peyton Mannings and people like that, very few of those guys have the ability and the grind afterwards and watching tape and putting up 1,000 shots or whatever it is.
Well, Kobe was a mini MJ, right? Like that's who he modeled. I mean, heck, he talked like him, he played like him. And the thing that people fail to sometimes remember about Kobe and MJ, for that matter, is they both were fantastic lockdown defenders. And Kobe and like MJ oftentimes would guard the best offensive player that the other team had, but yet still go get their 25, 30 points a game and most of the time win. Jordan had 6 titles. Kobe had 5 titles. And yeah, because he didn't play for my team and because he had that little beef at one point with Shaq, and, of course, I'm a Shaq guy. We're all Shaq guys, LSU. So if Shaq got a problem with Kobe, I got a problem with Kobe, right? But then the later part of his career became a much more likable guy. I think everybody respected him more when he won those titles without Shaq. And it was like, okay, back to back. I mean, he really puts himself on that Mount Rushmore. And then, he fixed his family life after the incident in 03 and 04 and became a good family man. And, you kind of pulled for him, and the tide turned, and you started to really, regardless of your allegiance to your team, started to really like and pull for Kobe. The tragedy is, Jacob, I talked to a pilot friend of mine who flies helicopters in Lafayette and is very familiar with the particular helicopter that he flew on. And he said that particular helicopter, they probably do 100 a day back and forth from Lafayette to all the oil rigs and stuff. Yeah. And he said it's a very safe helicopter, and he said he actually heard the audio this morning. He heard the audio between the pilot and the towers. And he said, in his personal opinion, and he said they'll investigate and they'll figure it out. He feels like it was pilot error, and that the pilot made a decision to kind of mislead the tower a little bit. The tower kept saying, "Hey, do you have a visual here?" Like it was there. We're getting reports that it's 1,100 foot ceiling, and you've got to be able to see 1,500 feet. You got to be able to see the ground and 3 miles out. And the reports were that he could only see 1,100 feet and maybe 2.5 miles out. But I think the pilot said, no, I'm good, 1,500 feet. And he said 3 times after they kept questioning him, like, are you sure? Because we're getting reports. He said, no, I'm fine.
Right.
And that happens all the time with private planes and private helicopters, where the pilot kind of feels the pressure for their boss sitting right next to him, the owner of the plane. I got to get him there. And sometimes you push through and do things you should.
That's the discussion we had, just about an hour ago. I'm sitting around and I'm talking with a couple of people, and you say you hope that the pilot used what his expertise and that didn't listen to other people, and you always worry about that situation. And you're right, and hopefully when that comes out, you just hope that's not the case, but it sounds like it obviously is. And nonetheless, it's just completely tragic. And obviously there was 9 people involved in this. It's not a small number. I mean, this is a large number of people that passed away, and it's just tragic that you lose life like this.
3 kids on the plane, 3 13-year-olds on the plane.
I mean, so much life in front of them. And then now Kobe obviously leaves back his wife and 3 other daughters, just completely one of those feelings you have in your stomach. And you really felt like Kobe was really about to have a second career that was almost as big as his basketball career. I mean, he had the Mamba Academy. He was doing things for women's sports. And I thought Brandon McCarthy, former Major League Baseball pitcher, put a great tweet out there last night. He said, the loss of Kobe hurts the world of sports on so many levels, but I can't help but feel it was women's sports where he was going to leave his longest lasting impact. He was so passionate about his daughters and his belief that if you can play, you can play. And I agree with that. I mean, he had such a passion for his daughters and coaching them. We've all seen the clip on ESPN where he's kind of going through scenarios. I believe it was a Mavericks-Nets game that he was at. He was kind of going through the scenarios of different things on the court with his daughter. And there's a great story on Jimmy Kimmel, and Kobe's talking, and the guy comes up to him, and he's kind of like, oh, well, if you had a son, you could leave on your legacy. And his daughter kind of stops. The guy's like, I'm fine. Right. I got this legacy for me. And, man, you just sick to your stomach that will never play out.
Yeah, because, with everything going on with LeBron James' son, he's a freshman, and the games are, they carry all the games on ESPN and all that. He had a chance, right, with Gianna being only 13 years old and kind of being really, really good. I mean, she was a sort of prodigy. And what Kobe would have done to get behind women's sports, women's basketball in particular, and with other daughters, who knows how good they would have been. Who knows what could have happened? Maybe the WNBA, maybe coaches in the WNBA one day. Maybe the ratings get better and the crowds get better because he would have put the weight of the Kobe Nike brand, kind of behind women's basketball. And so all those things we'll never know now what difference he would have made.
Man, it's just, you start thinking, you talking about 13-year-olds and the life they had in front of them. It's just an incredibly sad story, something that, obviously we're going to feel for a very long time. And it's been such something that's hit home the last couple of months, obviously, here. Really. And it's just, obviously, small pilot planes and helicopters have been happening for a very, very long time. They've been in flight for a very long time. And it just makes you,
I Googled something last night because somebody had said to me, man, it just seems like all the private planes that go down, you don't hear so much about commercial airline. And I found a statistic which I found was incredible. 97% of all airplane fatalities are through private planes versus commercial, where the restrictions are different and you've got people to answer to, and there's just so much more at stake. It's different when you got that owner sitting right next to you and he's going, hey man, I really got to get there. Right. Sometimes pilots make decisions that they're the wrong ones.